Have you ever dropped $6 on fresh berries because either they were the only fruit that your toddler wanted last week and you feel like, okay, well, why not try them again? Or number two, because you know you're supposed to give them repeated exposures to foods and to try new foods, and so you think you'll do it with blueberries. And you do all of this only to watch those berries rot in the fridge all week. I've been there, believe me. And the problem with buying foods based solely on what your toddler did or didn't eat one week, or because you feel pressure to give them lots of practice with a particular food, is that toddlers' taste buds are finicky and changing dramatically, and they can change from day to day, it feels like, which leaves you feeling like you've wasted time and money. But there are things you can do to offer variety and manage food waste without completely blowing your grocery budget or your patience. Hi, I'm Dr. Kaya Duffy, and today we're talking about how to feed kids without burning through your wallet. Because if you're tired of throwing away half-eaten produce, you're not alone. A couple of weeks ago, all my kids wanted for their lunchboxes were mangoes. I swear, we must have eaten 7 in a couple of days. It was all they wanted. So last week, I bought a few more, thinking, oh, we'll go through them quickly, just like we did before. And you know what happened? They rotted before I had the heart to throw them out, which ultimately, of course, I ended up doing. So let's talk about how to handle this without losing your mind or your money. We've all heard it before, and I have said this before so many times. Kids need multiple exposures to a food before they might accept it. Repeated exposure helps kids build familiarity and curiosity, and over time, acceptance. But here's the real life catch. I mean, it takes time and it takes money, and sometimes that means you're throwing away food, and of course, blowing your grocery budget and throwing it all just straight into the trash. Especially when your toddler loves cucumbers one week and acts like they're poison the next. So how can you stick with repeated exposures or plan for those fickle likes and dislikes without completely burning your grocery money? Let's get into some very specific strategy. Strategy number 1, when it comes to serving new foods, start small. Resist the urge to overload your toddler's plate with a giant pile of peas. Especially if this is the first time or the first few times that your kid has seen peas. Too much can overwhelm them. And when kids are overwhelmed, they are less likely to want to eat and more likely to leave it behind, leading to waste. Small portions, of course, also help reduce waste. So rather than throwing away a cup's worth of peas, you may find that only a few end up in the trash. And here's another benefit to starting small. When you start with a small amount of food on your toddler's plate, it's easier for you to see when something is gone. It's easier for you to see when your toddler actually makes progress in tasting it or touching it or eating it. So why does that matter? Because even those small wins, the smallest steps forward, those are worth celebrating, if nowhere else and with no one else than yourself. Strategy number 2. Not only can serving small portions help eliminate food waste, so can buying small portions. So try buying in small quantities when you can, especially if this is something new. And bulk bins are great for this. There are several local stores near me where I can get bulk spices and cooking ingredients. Think flour, sugar, spices, dried beans and lentils, but also nuts and seeds. We have dried fruit in there, granola, and different kinds of snacks. Buying in bulk means you don't have to overcommit to a giant bag of something new. You can grab just a little bit of that new food and test it out before you commit. When it comes to buying produce, you can buy fruits and vegetables singularly if possible, or shop farmers markets where sometimes it's easier to buy in small quantities. Now, this doesn't necessarily fit under this buying in small quantities tip, but it can help you using small quantities, and that is to buy frozen foods. Frozen fruits and veggies last longer, so you can pull out just what you need a little bit at a time. And also knowing how best to store fruits and vegetables and how to freeze them can also save you from wasting that hard-earned money. So let's say you buy blueberries, thinking either that's what they loved last week, so we do it again, or this is the food we're practicing this week. And then your kids decide to go on a blueberry strike. And now you have more than you know what to do with. If you know how best to freeze those berries and you have a plan or an idea of a plan for how you can use frozen berries later, this means they won't go to waste. And blueberries especially freeze so well. I know this won't solve all of your problems, but knowing that produce can be frozen and used later can help you let go of that sinking feeling or that stress you feel when you get fresh food and it's in the fridge and it hasn't been eaten. Strategy number 3, serve it differently. So in sticking with this blueberry theme, because that's where my head is right now, let's say, again, last week, your kid only wanted blueberries. She ate 2 pints of them. And so this week, you buy 2 pints of blueberries, thinking it will be the same. Surely she will like the blueberries as much as she did last week. And lo and behold, she wants absolutely nothing to do with those fresh berries. Rather than giving up on them or letting them go to waste, here's a tip, eat them yourself. But if you don't want to eat them yourself, try serving them in a different form. Rather than fresh, raw blueberries on a plate, put them into smoothies, into pancakes. Maybe you make muffins, or you put them on oatmeal, or you and your partner eat them in a salad. Shifting the texture and the temperature, raw to baked, fresh to frozen, plain to cooked, can sometimes change your child's interest in those foods. Okay, strategy number 4. Here's a habit that helps a lot. Rotate foods from week to week. So instead of just restocking blueberries because that was a hit last week, purposefully, mindfully mix things up. Maybe it's strawberries next week, mangoes the week after that, before you decide to bring home blueberries again. Now, I know I've talked about this before as a strategy to increase the diversity of foods that your family eats generally. And you can do this by being brand or flavor agnostic, by purposefully rotating the type or the flavor or the brand of foods that you buy week to week. This can be fresh veggies and produce. It can also be things like crackers. You avoid fatigue and you build in the practice of exposing to new flavors and textures and maybe help keep your budget on track. Okay, I want to have just a short sidebar here. I can hear you right now saying to me, your voice is maybe getting a little bit more panicked as you're thinking about this. But wait, what do I do when she tells me that she doesn't want to eat the mangoes that I bought this week and she only wants blueberries? What if she doesn't eat the mango at all? What am I supposed to do? What do I say? Here is my advice. First, be patient. It's great that she can express her feelings like this to you. This is what we want for our kids, for them to feel safe and comfortable coming to talk to us about how they're feeling. But her desire doesn't have to lead to you changing your decision or your behavior. Second, my advice, stay the course. Remember, you are the adult, and it's your job to decide what foods are available and when. And third, acknowledge her feelings. Of course, you can say to her, I know blueberries are so good, and I also love them, and we can get them again very soon. Right now, we have strawberries. Would you like to try one? And if she says no, let it go. Don't push it. Remember that coercing, bribing, requiring your kids to eat any particular food can backfire. Okay, back to our strategies. Strategy number 5. This is one I talk about all the time. Plan for flexible meals. Blueberries, again, if you buy blueberries, don't rely on them for just one thing. Don't plan for that week only to serve them raw. Think ahead. What else might you be able to use them for this week? And importantly, take a moment to consider whether you have all of the ingredients you would need to make those things. I know this sounds a little bit exhausting. Who wants to do all that planning? I get it. But really, it's not so much about planning for a specific food or lots of different possibilities, but just planning for the fact that you may need to rely on other possibilities. So having multiple options available. And if you have a sense of how those foods could be used in different meals or multiple different occasions, how you'll use up uneaten produce, you will feel less stressed when, I don't know, every time you open the fridge and see that radicchio that I bought last week, thinking that I would make this really cool recipe and then I couldn't be bothered to actually do it, and so it sits in the fridge every time I open the fridge staring at me, reminding me that I didn't do it. If I had had another plan, it wouldn't be rotting in the fridge. Finally, and this might be the most important, shift your mindset just a little bit Expecting that we have zero food waste when you have young kids is probably unrealistic. But aiming to minimize waste while understanding that some food is going to be left uneaten, well, that's just part of the process. Every unfinished plate, every untouched blueberry, it's all a part of your kids' learning journey. You are investing in their long-term habits, not just this week's grocery bill. And hopefully, if you follow some of these strategies we've outlined here, there will be less wasted food than you had before. Okay, so to recap, serve small portions, buy small or buy frozen. Switch up how you serve a food, rotate foods regularly, plan flexibly, and adjust your mindset. Last thing I'll say, you have more than 18,000 meals across your kids' childhood to help them become healthy, confident, conscientious eaters. So take a breath and be patient. I hope this helps take a little bit of the pressure off and gives you a few tools to try this week. Thanks for